Thumbelina. There was once a woman who wanted very much to have a child of her own. One day she was given a barley corn by a witch and planted it in a pot. Soon after there came up a pretty flower which looked just like a tulip, and a little lovely girl was sitting in the flower. The girl was so tiny, no taller than your thumb, that she was named Thumbelina. One night, as Thumbelina was sleeping in a walnut shell for her cradle, an old toad came hopping in through a broken pane in the window. "What a lovely girl she is! She would become a nice wife for my son," said the big ugly toad, and she hopped off with Thumbelina into the garden. Early the next morning she woke up on the broad green leaf of a water lily, and when she found where she was, she began to sob. The old toad swam up with her son to Thumbelina and said, "Here is your husband." "Quack, quack, was all the son could say. All the fishes in the pond had heard what the toad said, and they couldn't stand to think that the pretty little girl must live with that horrible toad. So, with their teeth, they gnawed the stalk that held the leaf she was staying on, and in no time the leaf floated down to the brook, far away where the toad could not reach her. After a while, a pretty little butterfly flew by and pulled the leaf that carried Thumbelina farther and farther. Suddenly, a beetle came flying down and, seizing Thumbelina, flew with her up into a tree. First the beetle thought how pretty she was, but when all the other beetles living in the tree kept saying how ugly she was, then he thought so too. He flew with her down from the tree and dropped her on a daisy in the woods. Then Thumbelina, getting her food from the honey and the flowers, and listening to the little birds chirping in the bushes, lived alone in the woods. In this way summer and autumn went by, and now came the long, cold winter. All the birds that had sung to her now flew away to a warm country. She was left alone, and, having no food, she shivered with cold. It started snowing, and any piece of snowflake that fell on her was just like a whole bucketful being thrown on you. Remember, she was no taller than your thumb. A kind old field mouse found Thumbelina, fed her, and said, "Why don't you stay with me for the winter?" So Thumbelina lived comfortably with the kind field mouse. One day the field mouse told her that they would have a mole visiting before long. "I want you to tell the mole the nicest story you know," said the field mouse. The mole called on them, and he at once took a liking to Thumbelina. He had built an underground passage between his house and theirs, so that the field mouse and Thumbelina were often invited to stroll. One day when they came to where a dead swallow was lying, the mole kicked at it. Thumbelina felt sorry for the dead bird, for she remembered the little birds that had chirped for her so beautifully during the past summer. She stooped down and touched it gently, and at that same moment she found that the bird wasn't dead. Every night she stole down to the bird and took good care of it. As soon as the sun had begun to shine so pleasantly in the spring, the swallow flew into the open, bright sunshine. Thumbelina felt so sad, for there was to be her wedding with the mole when the autumn arrived, and she found him such a slow, unfriendly bore. She would have to live with the mole deep down under the earth, for he did not care for the warm sunshine, pretty flowers, and blue sky. The field mouse hired spiders to spin and weave right through the summer so that she could make Thumbelina's wedding outfits ready. Thumbelina said she wouldn't marry the mole. "Don't be so silly, or I'll bite you with my teeth," said the field mouse. "Why, he is a splendid husband for you. He wears such a lovely velvet coat, and besides, his kitchen and cellar are both of the best." At last, the wedding day arrived. Thumbelina stole out to the cornfield and said, "Goodbye, bright sun. Goodbye, pretty little flowers. Remember me to the dear swallow if you happen to see it." At the same moment she heard the chirp of the dear swallow just flying over her head. "The cold winter will be here before long," said the swallow, when Thumbelina told her sad story. The swallow asked if she would like to come far away to the warm country. She could sit on its back. "Yes, I'd like to go with you," said Thumbelina, and climbed onto the bird's back, tying herself on with her sash. Then the swallow flew high up into the sky, far away across the forests and fields to the warm country. Finally, Thumbelina reached the warm country. The sun was shining twice as brightly, and an ancient castle of glittering white was standing among vivid green trees by the shore of a blue lake. A number of swallows' nests were at the top of the tall pillars, and one of these was the home of the deer swallow. "I shall put you on the beautiful flowers growing down there," said the swallow, and placed Thumbelina on one of the most beautiful white flowers. There stood a little man in the middle of the flower. He was the most handsome man Thumbelina had ever seen. He was king of all the flowers, and he asked her what her name was and whether she would be his bride. If so, she would become queen of all the flowers. He would be quite different from the son of the old toad and from the mole with the velvet coat. So she said yes, happily, to the king, and then guardian spirits appeared from every flower to extend their best wishes. The little swallow sat up in its nest and sang for them as well as it could.